What's in your cup?
Grape juice. The Kickback Show, the kickbackshow.com. That's all wine is. It's basically messed up grape juice. This is the best thing to ever happen to your entire life. I go by the name of Foz. And she is...
Brandy Ann with all the plans. And she is...
What's up, y'all? As always, it's your girl, Tiana Giovanna. And he is...
DJ Swivel. And I see Foz is looking mad comfortable over there with his robe to go along with that glass of wine.
He is like every Orange County mom right now. Like he's giving me Orange County mom. He's giving me wine mom.
She said you're one of these.
He's giving me.
Tell them heifers to go to the barber immediately.
He's giving me wine mom. He's giving me these kids. I need a break.
That's funny. That is hilarious.
He's giving me. I went to one too many soccer games this weekend.
I'm not advocating violence, but there's only so many times that a person can be allowed to get punched in the face before they start fighting back. We've seen it several times in nature, which is a true reflection of our human design. When you go to the zoo and you start to poke a bear, you know what's going to happen. When you are in the wild and you tease a tiger, you know what's going to happen. If you go and dangle some chicken in front of a lion, pretty sure you can expect that your arm is no longer yours. If you try to swim inside of a swamp with crocodiles, you see where I'm going. So, that being said, there's only so many of these Black people being shot, innocent people being killed, and the justice system failing us before action or a reaction is then put into place. Again, by no means am I advocating for violence, but if you see fit, sometimes the shoe fits, just make sure it matches with your outfit. In this case, your polo robe. I don't see how anybody could have expected that the jury that was bingoed, my man bingoed.
Oh yeah.
Q4052 out the like, how did you expect that he was going to be able to get a guilty verdict? I don't see it. I don't know how people thought it was going to happen, and I don't see why. I understand why people are still frustrated, but there's so much work that individuals need to do within themselves to fight this gargantuan system that we're up against.
I'm really, at the very least, hoping that a civil trial comes around at least to bite him in his ass. But I don't know, not one person that was surprised by this.
No, because
number one.
in our day of social media, like we see, people like sharing clips of like the judge, in a sense, influencing / tampering with the jury and saying like
verbally,
like, well, you guys talking about if you zoom into a picture, you can see details more closely. But in my experience, when I zoom into my text messages that I screenshot, it just becomes blurry. So I don't see how you can zoom into an image and see more details, because I only see blurriness. Like, dude, we know what you're doing. Like, so you're implanting thoughts and opinions into the jury's mind that's gonna sway their decisions on top of all the other shenanigans that happened throughout this trial. Like, it's just...
Well, and that started on day one though. Day one, I think before anything even really got underway, he was telling, like, he made it so that they couldn't refer to the victims as victims.
Oh, yeah.
And at that point, I think at that moment,
you knew.
Like, if we ever had a hope that anything was going to be like fair, I think the moment they were like, oh, you can't refer to the victim as victims, then we were like, oh yeah, this shit is not.
But you can refer to them as arsonists, as rioters.
But not victims. Let's just, yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the two victims who were shot and subsequently killed, they're both white guys, correct?
They're all white.
Yeah, all
Everybody
the
was
victims
white.
were white, correct?
Mhm.
So for me,
Everybody's white.
it's the All Lives Matter movement is awfully quiet when people of your hue are taken out, are no longer, walking this planet, and the guy who did it and admitted he did it, like, and that was the other thing, like, you can't say he allegedly killed two people and severely hurt another, like no.
We saw them do it.
There's no alleged about it. Like, you got dozens of witnesses, it's on video, like, come on. But that whole movement is awfully quiet right now, like,
because that movement's not a movement.
Exactly.
It's just anti-black.
It's not about anybody's life mattering. It's an anti-black movement. They don't care about anybody's life.
Right.
They just want to make sure that we don't care about black lives specifically. Like,
and that's
if
the other
anything,
thing.
it almost helps their argument to say, see, it happens to us too. It's like, come on, bro. Like, y'all got to chill.
But that's I think one of the biggest takeaways that I've kind of noticed, like, after the verdict came out, even though we expected it, was that minorities, black, brown, just people of color in general, like, they're the ones who are more upset at this verdict than the white community who just lost two of its members. But
it's interesting because I feel as though that community, well, clearly not speaking for everybody, but I think society has done a great job at painting them as being the opposite of what white America stands for, right? Oh, they were agitators. Oh, they were Antifa. Like, they was, right. You know what I'm saying? They were rioters. I mean, even look at, like we just mentioned, the judge saying you can't refer to them as being victims. It's like, clearly it's, let's separate them from the masses because they aren't. And it's the typical narrative that gets thrown around that we see all the time. If it's a white terrorist, it doesn't represent all white people. It's just a lone wolf. So it's the same thing. It's like, well, these weren't all the white people. This was just these 2 or 3 individuals that were actually anarchists. So they deserve to die. It's almost like demonization 101.
it is.
And it sucks. Like, it's unfortunate because, the black community and people like us have to, clearly we keep the same energy because it isn't a matter of being, colorism. It isn't race. It's a matter of a system that continues to fail the people that it's supposed to serve.
Yeah.
And
I
don't know.
was gonna say that's been my number one argument since this show started, is accountability. Like, you took 2 people's lives. You have to have some form of accountability. Even if you only, got sentenced to 3 to 5 years in jail, and we know you're gonna get out and 2 and some change for good behavior or whatever. Like, at least there's some form of accountability. But now, this, again, you open the door for every other freaking cornbread yahoo who's got, a couple of freaking firearms in their shed in the backyard to be like, you know what? I feel like going across state lines today and stirring up some ruckus. Because I'm not going to get held accountable, or at least the odds are in my favor. Like, come on.
Yeah, I feel like this is just like Zimmerman 2.0, honestly.
Yeah.
Because, you remember after Trayvon Martin and all that stuff happened and Zimmerman got off the hook, how emboldened he was. Just brass and ugly. And I mean, I think he auctioned off the gun that he killed Trayvon Martin with for several thousand, tens of thousands of dollars.
He was signing Skittles.
Yeah.
He was signing Skittles.
Stuff like that. And I feel like this is just that, but almost on steroids, because all of these far right folks came to his defense and offered him money. Matt Gaetz, the politician, has stepped forward and said, oh, if he's acquitted, I'll give him an internship. Like, political frontrunners and people of power are stepping up and being like, yeah, if he's acquitted, he's got a job in my office. Because that's the type of politician we need in the future.
Yeah.
It's just, it's sickening on so many levels. And it's like, what do you do? But then at the same time, the system is doing exactly what it's been set up to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is what it was created for. There are a different set of rules for white folks with guns in this country than there are Black folks or people of color with guns in this country. And I don't have to say this, but I'm sure that every single person listening knows that had that dude had a tan of any kind, and he had a solid tan and a little curl in his hair, he'd be dead.
Well, that, or again, like I said earlier, like I think you're getting minimum, like bare minimum, you're getting like 3 to 5 or 5 to 10, whatever. And that charge, as far as the weapons charge, like that will never get thrown out.
I think the only thing that would have saved a person of color doing that exact same thing is the fact that they were going up against a Black Lives Matter rally versus, you see what I mean?
I don't even know if they get up.
No. I'm saying the only thing I think that would give them any hope at all of either getting out of there alive or is because they were like, yeah, I was there to protect against Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, but I 100% agree with you. I feel as though they still would have made it some sort of example, because then the imagery and the symbolism would have empowered other Black people to say, hey, if there's an injustice or there's an uprising that is against your liking, because we saw what they did against the the NFAC?
Yeah.
I give a fuck coalition or NAFT. You know what I'm saying? Like, we saw what they did. Like, and they marched on to Georgia. It was like, look, we looking for the KKK. We hundreds deep, damn near 1,000 deep, all got assault rifles. What's happening? And they federally came down and was like, we got to squash this. This got to end, because we don't need coalitions of Black people popping up everywhere, militias and all of that.
Well,
so I feel as though that would have been the only thing that would have ended it. I mean, and on top of that, you wouldn't have had a police force bumping fists and asking a Black man if he needed water for coming with an assault rifle from
exactly.
Kansas, St. Louis and shit.
But the feds shut that coalition down real quick, because they're like, nah, this is a 2020 version of Black Panther Party, but their slogan is we're not giving a fuck. Like, it's a whole different slogan. Like, we're shutting this guy down, like, from the jump. Because
just imagine their theme song was "See Murder" featuring Magic and Snoop. Fuck the mother niggas, because I'm down for money. Like,
man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I mean, it's not so ironic that we were having the same exact conversation a year ago. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I mean, I do know, but I don't know how to structure a sentence to explain the emotions that are behind it, because I don't know. It's like, I don't know how to explain it to those that are still getting upset about the same exact situation.
Yeah, it's just another day in America.
Well, Bad Luck posted, or he might have reposted somebody, but, after the verdict came out, I was like, so what are y'all about to do? You about to go pray and march again?
That's my point. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Prayers for the family don't mean shit. It's just platitudes.
Yeah.
It don't mean anything. It's just something that you were programmed to say that it doesn't make anybody feel better that just lost somebody. It doesn't bring their loved one back.
Yep.
Your prayers don't mean anything, especially when you're still subscribing to a system that is perpetuating this cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, so
I'm still for buying a freaking island, building our own infrastructure, and just bouncing. Listen, an island does not cost that much money. It's like a couple million. You get a small one. We don't need that much space.
Okay.
We like each other.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up because I've hinted to the same thing, and I've sincerely said, yo, shit goes sour. Canada, Honduras, Poland, Ghana, I'll be out. To play devil's advocate, though, would that be an answer? Would that be enough to escape the true adversity at hand? You know what I'm saying? Like, because needless to say, like, clearly going somewhere else, going to an island, like, yeah, you can temporarily get away from what happens, but then, like, yeah, well, Cuba was liberated. Haiti has been trying to get liberated. Those are islands. Japan trying to get North Korea trying to be liberated. So it's like there's places that are like, yeah, we're good, out of the way. That's y'all's problem. I'm good, right? But is it enough to like say I'm completely out of the way, or would this system eventually catch up to where you are as a Black person?
Maybe if you got like-minded people and you keep that circle small and just unplug from the matrix or go off the grid and just like completely disconnect from all of this negative energy and all that kind of stuff. Like if the circle's small enough and everyone's like on the same page, make sure you find your group doesn't have somebody who's on a power trip. Maybe.
So then the follow-up question is that possible to do that here now?
Shit, look
like
at
where we are.
He was raping little girls for decades, completely unbothered on his own little island. He had a whole island full of like-minded pedophiles, and he flew under the radar his whole life until someone else decided that they were going to pull the plug.
No,
the pressure just got too much.
I'm dead. You got to do the show without me.
I'm just saying. But am I lying? Am I lying? Richard Branson, he's got his own little island. He's happy. I hope he's not also out there raping little girls and just, I'm just saying, listen, here's what I say we do. I say we buy an island under all the paperwork. Just write Caucasian. Just check that box instead of any other box. I know it's tempting. I know we love our Blackness. I know it's tempting to check Black or multiracial or whatever option you have on there. But just for the sake of this, check Caucasian. It's difficult. I know it's difficult.
No, but then
you'll be unbothered.
No,
just
you
check
won't.
That box.
Because then
yes, you will.
Once they figure
if it's
out
on the paperwork.
But then they're gonna be like, once they figure out that it's a bunch of melanated people, they're like, oh, you lied on your application, so we're gonna rescind everything that we granted you.
But listen. We're half white, okay? If we check the white box, it's okay. Hell, I would guarantee all four of us have white in there in us because of colonization. We're not lying. It's not a lie. It's not.
I mean, we live in an era where guys are identifying as women and vice versa. So I'm just going to identify as Caucasian today. Like when I fill out this form.
And it's not a lie. We're not transracial. We're multiracial, and we just decide which one we want to go with on any given day. Okay. And on this day, for this buy an island paperwork, and to get all the infrastructure done, we're going to tap into the caucasity within us, because there's some of it. There's something in there. We can do this.
I don't think it's enough. It's not enough. There are aliens that are peacefully existing light years away. And you know what's finding them? Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk.
What?
You know?
But they won't be bothered by us, because they won't, it'll just be off the radar.
I'm just saying, white people have a very unique way of finding Aboriginal and cultured spaces to then take them over.
If we buy an island with real money and I'm telling you, just check the Caucasian box. Just check it. They won't, shut up! They won't come looking for us. Y'all are pissing on my cloud. I don't appreciate it.
Theoretically, it sounds great on paper until they see a black face. It's like,
yeah, we're gonna.
Yeah, there's, you know, they have like they literally have a perjury box that you have to check to say that you take accountability that everything you filled out is true to their standards. It may be true, literally, and technically. You're not.
When we get to the point where we're comfortable and living nice and we're everything is hunky dory or whatever, like there's gonna be that Karen that walks up like the one at the barbecue.
But see, technically, as far as 23andMe is concerned, okay, I'm a little bit more than 50% white. I hate to admit that on the radio.
Swivel said honky. You know what the crazy thing is, right? Is that, and we started to have this conversation off air, is that I think Jay-Z pointed it out best, where he said the streets are dead. Like there's all this talk and everybody is a tough guy until we are confronted with some real problems that require real ass solutions. Everybody want to be a shooter until it's time to shoot. Everybody wants to be pro-black until it's time to be black. Everybody is, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, and I'm bringing all this up because we recently just saw the demise of another young black man, Young Dolph. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because I feel, and it ties into what we're talking about. It's like going somewhere else doesn't really escape the issues. Like it temporarily alleviates us, but it's like sooner or later the shit is gonna catch up to us. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's wild because I don't know much about Young Dolph. I know that he had a huge impact. According to social media, he's being related to what Nipsey was to LA. And although I'm ignorant to his impact because I don't live in the city of Memphis, I'm not from Tennessee, I don't know what he did or what he was about. To relate him to somebody like Nipsey, that says quite a bit. That says a whole lot, right? And it's unfortunate because it's like shit, something's got to give. You know what I'm saying? Like, how was, going back to the Jay-Z comment, how was Zimmerman still living? Y'all not mad at that, but you take down a young black man that was doing something for his community. My speculation is that going back into this narrative of shit always catches up to you, it seems like whatever is done, whether it's for a positive or if it's negative, it always comes back to confront you. So if you're living well, you're doing good, apparently he was giving turkeys out to the neighborhood, he was giving back to his community and all of that. I don't see why somebody would be envious or jealous of that. But we live in a capitalistic society to where if you were doing better, you drive a better car, or your hair is longer, your beard connects, I got to take you out because you're making me look bad. I know it sucks, but it be little petty shit that people be getting angry for.
Right.
And it sucks because it's like, shit, man, like, I don't know. I feel like it's going to be this time next year, November 2022, we're going to be having the same conversation.
It's quite unfortunate. And I don't really know too much about Young Dolph either. I mean, Brandy's the one that kind of broke the news to all of us in our little group chat, but I saw the same things in terms of people sharing like what, you know, he was doing, not only for like his community, but specifically for his family. And I think even somebody mentioned about him like owning property or whatever to eventually pass off to his kids. So, you know, he was already creating a form of like generational wealth, you know, and he was only 36 years old. So like, you know, so that to me, that was like, without somebody specifically comparing him to Nipsey, like that's how I made the connection as far as, or the similarity to, you know, what Nipsey is to us here in LA. And so I know Brandy's like cousin was like much more impacted because, you know, way more familiar than we are. So
is there anything that we go ahead.
Well, I guess I could jump in the aspect of saying, like, to confirm that, like, she kind of walked me through things and then also just played certain songs to substantiate what she was saying. Because of course, you know, as artists, you have your avenues of it all. But he definitely was, you know, street dude that always spoke about like building something, own the ownership, and you know, getting your mental straight, you know, being down for a brown skinned woman, and no shade to nobody, but just, you know, really, really totally loving his blackness and shining. And then I went to a point, I want to say, like when he had the Lamborghini, he gave it away because I guess at a certain point he recognized that he was shining. He was just too shiny. And so he gave that bitch away so that he, I mean, I guess, you know, other people may say, well, no, it was just you know, on some streets talking shit. It was like that. It was one of those things where, you know, I don't know, because you don't want to leave where you're from, but, you know, sometimes, you know, there's ways to go about it, I guess. You know, you have your around the town car, you have your flashy car, whatever. So I think that he knew, he was aware of whatever the hate and all that. But as far as the whys and all the who's and all that, I do know that there was a woman from Memphis that said, you know, they know what they're doing, you know, this whole free guns, you know, like you can carry a gun and all that. Like they know what they're doing. These kids, you know, the fact that he was popular shed some light, but this happens every single day. Somebody dies every single day. So, you know, I'm moving. She literally said, I'm moving me and my sons out because, you know, the way that things are going, she, you know, it is what it is out there. And I think that that's something that, you know, they say that they don't hear certain things about, and I'm not to take away from Dolph's story, but they say they don't hear certain things about these free, you know, you can carry a gun states. And obviously now with her testimony, it's obviously being covered much more than what we know.
I wonder who started that whole, you got to stay where you at. Like, where did that come from? You know what I mean? Like, how did it start? In order for you to be considered real and authentic, you got to be accepted from the environment that you grew up in.
I was gonna say, I almost feel like that would come from like gang mentality, like staying down with your crew. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
Like, I feel like historically there has always been.
Because if you switch up and leave the hood, then they talk shit about you.
Yeah.
But
like
I feel like
you sold out kind of thing.
Historically, there's always been some aspect to that. So I don't even know if it's necessarily gang mentality, because it's one of those, you know, I don't know if it's specific to our community. I can't speak to anybody else's community, but you know, even one of those like, oh, they moved on, so now they think they're better than us. Doesn't have to be a gang mentality. We've all had those, even like within family. you have a family member who up and moves, and then like they've done well for themselves and they come back, and then the family is feeling like, oh, she thinks she's better than, or he thinks he's better than because he went away and got a little bit more money, now he's coming back. But really it's a jealousy thing. They saw that you did it, and now when you come back they want to hate on you. Like, I don't think it's necessarily gang mentality, although I think that's a big part of it, but I think that that's just jealousy talking in general.
I think it's,
I've seen it in families and
I think that it's like learned scarcity, like, and then it turns into the jealousy thing. It's like you're taught like you got to stay down and this, that, and the third. And then when you get older, you feel some type of way when you see somebody shining, and then you like act on it by telling it, you know, then it begins to turn into its own thing. But it's like ultimately, you know, hating on somebody shine is really just because you believe that you really can never have it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I don't know.
No, I mean, no. Yeah, I mean, I'm listening. I'm absorbing it all. I mean, and for me, I'm just trying to get to the core root. You know what I mean? Because I've experienced, not to that degree, but I've experienced a level of that, to where it's like, coming from my hometown, I was always a nerd. So it wasn't like, you know, I got to a point to where getting in radio, seeing a level of success, at least by the standards of someone that has never been outside of the city, you know, or deems the level that I got to as being something that was desirable. Like, I saw it. Oh, you Hollywood. Oh, you changed. Oh, you blah, blah, blah. You mad at me because I'm working hard? You mad at me because I'm I'm going after what I want to do? I was always a nerd. I wasn't fucking with me, and all of a sudden you are, because I've reached a level of success. You know what I'm saying? And it got to the point to where it was like the very first show that I did for Dreamscape, the play, I did in Pomona.
Yeah.
When I tried to put together an album, like a collection of artists that came from not just my hometown, but the IE, like, I was getting some goofy shit back. And it was like, bro, I'm doing this for y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm making efforts to the point to where it was just like, all right, bro, like, I'm just looking out for myself. And I guess I saw it firsthand, so I got past the whole, oh, I need to be where I grew up. Because when I lived in Pomona again, it was 3 homicides in one night that was all unrelated. Yeah. It's like, bro, like, I'm not here for this. I'm not here to try to prove that I'm real and all of that, when my whole goal and purpose in life is to grow as a man.
Yeah.
It's to build something for the future. If anything, it's to show y'all that there's other possibilities other than what y'all living through.
Yeah.
Versus being in this cycle. You know what I'm saying? And not to name drop, but having conversations with people like Quit. I remember, went to his house, dropped him off at his house, was kicking it, we talking and everything, took me to his backyard. He was just like, yo, listen to that. You hear that?
Yeah,
and it was literally nothing but crickets.
Right.
Quiet.
Yeah.
No, he was like, there's no gunshot. He said, I've never experienced so much peace, because in Compton, there's always blah, blah, blah. There's helicopters, there's gunshots, there's sirens, it's boom, boom, boom. There's noise. And I related to that because Pomona was the same exact thing. You can't go one night without hearing something.
Right.
There's always something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's just interesting to me, like the mentality of how we arrive to certain points as Black people, to where it's like, I get it. Like, we want to stay true and authentic, but who created that standard? Who created that? Who started the whole, oh, you not real unless you, boom, boom, boom. It's like, well, I'm going to look out for those that was authentic and true to me from the beginning. Mm-hmm. Those that always showed up when I needed them.
Yeah.
When I was at rock bottom, when I didn't have nobody, like, that's the absolute truth. That's the principle. That's the cause and effect.
Yeah. Then to answer that question, as far as like who started, we may not know the exact who, but it was somebody who couldn't achieve a level of growth in their own life. Mm-hmm. So they, the jealousy of seeing, a friend or a relative elevate themselves. Because this reminds me of the conversation. Shout out to Willie B and Daylight, and because we went to the A Room Full of Mirrors screening a few days ago, and I haven't seen Willie in person in quite some time because of the pandemic, and immediately that's kind of the conversation we got into, is like, yo, like, how do you guys feel about like getting to a point of having to let certain people in your life go because you've outgrown them, and you need to let them go in order for you to continue growing and to continue being successful. And those are the same people that you're kind of referring to, Boz, that like they're like, oh, you're acting brand new because you're growing, you're becoming successful, and I can't hang with you.
Yeah.
So like it's got to be that type of that type of mentality from somebody that maybe created the whole stigma.
Yeah, they'd be the first people talking about, oh, you're acting brand new to me. It'd be like, yep, bye. You want to come? You don't want to come? You want to stay here? Okay, bye.
All right.
No, like,
listen, I'll be the first to tell you this brand new life is something. It's magnificent. It's absolutely magnificent. I mean, I don't eat meat anymore, but when you've had a medium rare steak, Oscar style, there's no going back to Tom's, number 14. Like, I'm good. I'm straight, bro. Like, I'm good.
It's
right?
True. Like,
and I get it. Like, it's the mentality.
It is. And I think that that's in all things. I think that that's with all people. Family, friends, shit, your dog ain't got no act right. Bye.
Well, and this actually kind of goes.
You should train your dog. You should train your pets.
Yeah, this goes back to to the situation with Young Dolph. I think it was Foz's favorite artist, Little Boozy, who like said, like, had video clips the very next day floating around talking about like it's people in your city that are the ones who will take you out. It's not like, I think he even said like you go to LA artist goes to New York, you don't have no problems in New York, or goes to Atlanta, he doesn't have problems in Atlanta, but he's got problems with other people back in LA, or or any city for that matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm a firm believer in not letting anybody stand in the way of your growth. Period.
Meanwhile, but to the statement that you just made, it kind of goes 360. Meanwhile, that same energy isn't projected towards the very thing that is actually preventing you from succeeding. The system that is here to hinder you. You still subscribe to the bullshit. You still wearing Gucci. They showing you that they think you monkeys. Where you standing outside in line for all kind of stupid ass shoes. Which, to each his own. Do your thing. I'm not hating on anybody that's doing their thing, but time and time again, we see somebody losing their life over some bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing people, like.
Young Dolph was going to get some cookies for his mom.
I know, right? Like,
it's crazy.
Crazy.
What I mean?
It wasn't like an argument just ensued.
Yeah. Somebody was mad.
Deliberate.
Yeah.
It was planned. It was deliberate. Like,
he goes there all the time.
Right.
And that's how they get you. That's how they get you. Your everyday routine.
Cat Williams said it best. He said, you mad at breakfast? Like, you mad at bacon?
Right.
You mad over some cookies?
Right.
Right.
I remember he said, I seen a little clip. He was like, if I could just give somebody $25,000, like, I would want them to reinvest and change their life. Like, because if I give them that $25,000, that's probably going to affect 10 to 20 people, which is then going to affect another 20 to 30 people. Then when you look back, it's really 50 people. And it's just like, I'm glad that, these types of interviews are starting to go viral, unfortunately, for an unfortunate situation. But there's, like Pac said, you're going to be the seed that's going to, be in the brain that's going to change the world. These types of things still do need to get out because there are some minds that do need to just get that eureka moment. Mm-hmm. And it was a dope analogy. And we think like that. We are like that. Black people, we are love. Like, whether it's the hardest of hearts, niggas, like all of us. Like, you know what I'm saying? And when you do what's in your real heart, you know what I'm saying? Like, and think about it, you probably won't do a third of the things that you do. And then the other half, you probably will do more things that you don't do.
You're right. Yeah. I agree. I think for me, I feel as though that it goes back to us getting to the core of who we are as Black people, and not trying to live by a westernized, very whitewashed mindset and conditioning, the way of living.
I will say, what do you mean, shameless plug, but it's not shameless. It starts with your self-talk, and it's something that I've recognized that I need to, had to like, okay, this is something that I actually have to carve time in my day because it's important as fuck. Mm-hmm. And Tiana, your books, they are very intentional about like, oh man, this is how I'm talking to myself the first thing in the morning. Mm-hmm. And then I got to go with the rest of my day. It's like, what are you doing when you first wake up? Like, shouldn't be scrolling and tapping into somebody else's dream.
Yeah.
Like, really got to get back into just giving yourself some free time in the morning and just talking to yourself, or like, what is it that you really want? What's your intention? I don't know.
Yep. No, 1000%. Thank you for saying that, Brandy. I appreciate it. But it's true. And
it's real life.
And full disclosure, like I struggle with self-talk when I feel like I haven't, done everything I need to do, or, I think that that's something that is common. It's so common. But I feel like as long as you're not internalizing the external bullshit, then for the most part, you're okay.
Yeah.
It's hard though when the South, like when I went to the South for an extended period of time, and the type of music that's on the radio, and it's just like, shit, I want to burn some shit down too.
Right. Yeah,
so you really do have to be intentional to give yourself that time, because you really might find yourself like, damn, what did I just do 5 minutes ago? I really didn't mean to say that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, not to go back down that rabbit hole, because we've talked about that many times on the show about, music that's getting the publicity is for all the wrong reasons. It's the wrong music getting publicity for the wrong reasons, or the right reasons if you're talking about, the system in place to keep our community destructive and down. But it made this, what you said, Brandy, made me think, like, I wonder if there's any sort of like study done in the era of social media, like, because we're not doing what you're saying, like the self-talk and that kind of thing. We're being distracted by, stuff on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram, like, so people don't have time to invest in themselves. So I wonder if somebody's done a study like on the correlation of the rise of people having these mental breakdowns,
of course they did.
Anxiety, like,
yeah, I'm sure Facebook did a study,
and it's intentional, and they don't, and they keep it from us so that they can keep pumping what they want to pump, so that they can keep getting the money and keep the levels and keep growing the margin.
Yeah, all in an effort to sell a product or, peddle something.
What's going on behind those lips, Foz? It's a lot.
Capitalism.
Brandy and I had to. It's funny. Brandy and I had this conversation a couple nights ago. Just on some personal growth, and it stems from a book that I'm reading that deals with this conversation of. It's called Ma'at, the 11 Laws of God, and there are 3 spheres specifically that deal with our programming, and the spheres are Edukuti, Sebek, and Aset, that deal with the visual, or the like symbolism deals with the verbal programming or like our affirmations, and then also our behavior, how we are receptive to certain things. And literally, exactly what you just mentioned as far as the music is concerned, it talks about how the music is fine-tuned to 440, which specifically deals with our sacral chakra, which is very sexually driven. You know what I'm saying? Versus our solar plexus or heart chakra, which is a little bit higher, right? So it's, you mentioned something that hit me to the core. Like I found myself at a certain point in the last few months where I was waking up, and first thing I was doing, instead of speaking affirmations into myself like I used to, I was aimlessly scrolling on the toilet on Instagram. It's like, dude, like, what are we doing? Whereas I could be spending this time, although it may seem frivolous, it's like I could be learning something. I could be feeding myself either something that's educational. I could be learning something that's dealing with my craft. I can fine tune something that I've always been working on. And the moment that I shifted that, everything started to grow.
Right.
Finish the project, finish the book, getting ready to start another. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's so many avenues. The obstacle that I see though, when it comes to others and the demographic that we're speaking of, is that they're not conditioned to think this way. And the moment that it becomes public knowledge that, hey, there's an alternative for your peace and your happiness, a Popeye's chicken sandwich comes in. And I'm saying that to be facetious because the point is rest in peace, Snip was talking about Dr. Sebi. And I was excited because it was like I had found out about Sebi back in 2016 because I had just converted over to plant-based, right? So I'm like, yo, I'm watching the documentary specifically that I watched was Hidden Colors, right? And they started talking about eating and frequently they started talking about all this stuff that really kind of set me on this journey. And that was the first time that I learned about Dr. Sebi. So fast forward a few years, here comes Nip talking about it. And it's like, oh man, I'm excited because everybody about to learn about sea moss, elderberry, bladderwrack, boom, boom. We about to get healthy in these streets. It's chip. You know what I mean? And then or not only does he get chipped and everybody wants a documentary about Dr. Sebi and it's protect Nick Cannon at all costs, Popeyes drops this sandwich. And we back at ground zero. You know what I'm saying? So it's like one of those things to where I understand that it's all about perspective, but it's like this shit is frustrating because people like us are trying so hard to get others to understand it, but there's so much against us. There's the verbal, the behavioral, and the visual.
So with this book you have, I would like, I have a question, like, does the book have the answer? When people that are, if there's someone who is like big on like supporting you, like even if it's not financially, even if it's like emotionally, or if I'm like rapping like Nip, like rapping about getting out because like I'm gonna just give my truth and this, that, and the third. If you can't touch this many lives and they're speaking all this positivity that those that our people need, like what brings an individual to still execute on taking them out of that position when you know that they're helping more than what your beef needed to, like you wanted to see, like exhaust. I don't know what the fuck.
So the book points out that it's a matter of going back to the law of a man. And this book, just for context for those listening and watching, it's based on Kemetic spiritual science. So the law of a man is all about peace and getting back to the sphere of zero, which is our core of our true being, which is peace. Everybody wants peace. That's an absolute truth that cannot be denied, right? For context, a year and some change ago, we did an episode. This is post George Floyd and all the uprising and everything. There was one episode where I was livid. I was fuming. What the blah, 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 blah. Then following that, a few episodes later, I was like, you know what? How much of this is really truly affecting me? And I went on this quest for peace, right? So to answer your question, the way that it points it out in the book is there's 11 spheres total. All of them are derivative from the zero, which is peace. And so with your question comes from sphere 4, which is love, the sphere of Ma'at, right? Which the law of Ma'at is typically justice and all of that. But this book explains it in the form of giving others what you have already given yourself. So how can you truly forgive somebody? How can you see the opposition that is in front of you? It's not being true opposition towards you, but something that is reflective of what you're supposed to learn, right? So clearly there's people out there, and I mean, it's crazy because what is the motive
So
of
their
somebody
peace
coming to
is
try
so
to,
bothered that they have to execute.
that they have to interrupt my peace, right? Why is it that you're so affected by what I'm doing and living in my peace that it would drive you to want to take my life, right? Through these laws, it's like, look, if this is what you see, then so be it, right? Like, I'm willing to forgive you because you're not mad at me. You're not mad at my peace. There's something within you that you're bothered by. It's all from you. So I'm going to reflect a love that should diminish any type of adversity. Yet and still, I know that this isn't the true answer to everything that's happening in the world, because there's a lot of adverse ways of thinking, right? Not necessarily evil, but just opposite of what's pure. The answer, I honestly don't know, but it's just a matter of us going back to that peace and understanding, look, if I'm at peace, the next level is understanding I'm one with everything that's around me. And I should have empathy because I can see, or I can put myself in the shoes of whatever's coming at me. The next thing is not allowing my emotions to interfere with the decision making and getting back to that peace. So it's okay for me to be angry, but let me not act in that anger. Let me not act in that jealousy. Let me not act in that fear, which is its own entity that's separate from my true being. You know what I'm saying? Then the following thing after that is the love. So if I move through love, which is the purest form that literally will demolish everything, it's a literal a spiritual energy, literally a spiritual energy that can change anything.
Yeah, it's like
you show somebody love.
It's like tapping into the Christ consciousness.
Go ahead. It's
like
literally that.
Yeah.
It's literally that. It's like, how do you go over and beyond what is in front of you to try to affect you? To know, like, you can't affect me. You're not here to bother me. You can't disrupt my peace because I'm at peace with myself. And I understand what you're trying to do because I look at you as being a part of me. I look at you as what would be the point of somebody, let's go back to Young Dolph, right? What would be the motive for somebody to take his life at a cookie shop? What would make them so angry? What is it that they were going through that would cause them to react the way that they did? What was done to them to where they said, yo, I have to do this.
Yeah.
I'm driven by anger, by jealousy, by whatever. My spirit is so defeated that I need to take somebody else's life.
Hurt people, hurt people.
And that's really what it is. So at the core, right? At the core of, I'm just going to speak for myself, not Young Dolph, right? At my core, it's like, yo, it's not me that you angry at. You're angry at circumstances. You're angry at a perspective. You're angry at a concept. But if you go back to the basic principles, things that cannot be denied, if you go back to a law, things that cannot be challenged or debated, things that are objective, not based on an opinion, It's peace. Everything is derivative of peace. You want happiness? Find peace. You want love? Find peace. You want joy? Find peace.
Yeah. That reminds me, like Tupac said the same thing. I think there was someone was interviewing him and asking him a question like, you know, how do you feel about like, you know, people saying like your music, you know, causes or inspires people to, you know, be thugs, you know, commit violence or whatever. And he's like, no, it's not my music, or he's like, and it's just whatever those people are dealing with. I'm just speaking about, you know, life experiences that I've seen or that I've gone through, but I'm at peace with myself. Like, and so if I were to die today, like I'm good because I stayed true to who I am and I'm at peace with that. Like, so whatever happens, if anyone tries to put anything on me, like, no, that criticism doesn't affect me because I know who I am. And I'm paraphrasing. That's obviously like, you know, but
Yeah.
No, but yeah. And yeah.
And that's such a hard concept to teach people, and it shouldn't be, because, you know, that's one of those things where people look outside of themselves for the answers when that's never where the answers are.
mm-hmm.
So they look outside of
You're
themselves
absolutely right.
for problems and answers and happiness. And like they look for someone else to do that for them. They look for their external situation to fulfill them internally. And that's like, you know, Deepak Chopra will tell you, if you want to find happiness, look within. You have to, people will say, oh, if I get skinny, I'll be happy. If I get revenge, I'll be happy. If I get money, I'll be happy. If I get whatever, if I acquire whatever external something, I'll be happy. But then really it's the opposite. It's get happy. And then you will be successful. Be happy first.
Right.
And then you will get, you know, even like revenge. Success and happiness are the best revenge against any external hate that you're receiving. You know what I mean? Like, so from whatever frequency you're trying to tap into, ultimately it's get happy, or to your point, Foz, another way of saying that is be at peace within yourself first. And then everything else that you want comes afterwards. Happiness is not the result of. Happiness is the catalyst of. Happiness is the starting point, not the end point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that I think that we gravitate to, let me stop. I'm trying to speak for everybody else. I have gravitated in my past self, lower vibrating space, gravitated to feeling like when you get these things, you'll be that because society, you know, I'm going to go ahead and just scapegoat of society indoctrinates that like, you got to go out and find yourself. You got to go to college. You got to go somewhere to go find something, when really, even though, yeah, sure, I went to college, I got this job and that job, and then I found, but it's really because you were like being in those experiences. You felt like, okay, I'm in college and I'm going to be here. And I got this job and I'm going to be here. Really, you were really like taking on those experiences, but it's like society tells you that you have to go out and find it. And it's like you keep finding. And if you're not still enough, you'll be finding until you're no longer here.
Mm-hmm.
or trying to find.
You're right. And society has done a great job, especially for Black people in America, has done a great job at programming us through religion, through other institutions like education, through several other things, right? Yeah. By separating us. And both of you just said it, by having an external God, by saying God is this thing that's far away in the clouds and you have to please this in order to, you know, to seek happiness, not here, because you're supposed to suffer here, but to have happiness in an afterlife, right?
Yeah.
Having an education, like you have to go get your education so that you can succeed in the workforce, hopefully, right? And you have to keep educating yourself to be smarter than everybody else, hopefully, So then you can do what? Get a nice house, get a car, get the spouse that you've always wanted to, get this life that they've given you an image of, that they've shown you. This is how you're supposed to look. This is what success is. Shout out to Pharrell that helped me along my journey with that song on his album, Girl, that said, you got to go inward to experience the outer space that was meant for you. You have to go inside of you to find the heaven that truly exists specifically for you. That's what it's all about. But society tells us, no, in order for you to be happy, you have to look this way. You have to do everything that everybody, you have to dress like this in order to be successful. You have to have this house in order for people to like you. You have to do this in order for people to like you. And then you end up, unfortunately, meeting a demise like we've seen countless amount of young Black men see, based on what?
But
trying to please other people.
Yeah, but notice that that's all based in consumerism. It's all based in, because if they tell you the secret of the divine is within you, happiness is within, peace is within, prosperity is within, then what are we gonna buy? Then we won't feel like we need to go buy the makeup or the car or the house or the, you know, to find the dude to make us happy, because we're not happy with ourselves, because this magazine tells us that we're too fat. So we got to buy the diet pills to get the dude to fulfill us, because, you know, like it's this web and cycle of outwardness. Again, it's all ego. It's all consumerism. It's all feed that, because, and that's it's done on purpose, right? You know, we live in a society, in a capitalist society, which for better or for worse tells you that this is how you need to look and how you need to be. And it's sad. Like my dad, for instance, is caught up in it. This man thinks he needs, I don't know how many new suits. And it's what, you know, I think
my dad too. He always calling somebody fat. And I'm like,
yeah,
that is your blood.
Yeah.
Like,
like, but people don't understand. Everybody's happiness doesn't look the same. Everybody's contentness doesn't look the same. But we've been taught that, oh no, it's supposed to. In order to be happy, like you said, this is the roadmap that you need to follow. And if your roadmap doesn't look the same, then you're weird. You're an outlier. What's wrong with you? You're ostracized. You're X, Y, and Z. Like, so case in point, like I said, my dad is one of those, oh, I need a new suit. I need to look like this and I need to do whatever. And he will tell himself over and over and over again that he likes wearing these suits because it makes him personally feel good. Okay, but what really makes you feel good is stepping out of the house and someone complimenting you on how you look, instead of you just knowing, you know, intrinsically, I look good, I feel good, I whatever. But he's keeping up appearances. Meanwhile, you know, I'm just gonna put all this business out there. Meanwhile, you know, he's on Section 8 in the hood, and you know, has to make sure that he's home just for when like a package arrives, because if he's not, it's gone. Like that's the kind of place that he lives. So I have a cousin who is, by my dad's standards, special, right? And he dressed up like a girl on Halloween, right? And my dad really took to, he posted the picture. He's young. He's just having fun. It's Halloween. It's his life. Whatever makes him happy, Ain't hurt nobody. He's a grown ass kind of man. Now, I don't mean kind of man, like he's kind of grown.
No, I know.
Okay. Yeah. So my dad decided he was going to make a comment on his picture on Facebook and was like, I'm not with all that dressing like a girl shit. I'm not impressed with that. And it was like on a happy birthday thing, but happy birthday anyway, or some dumb. And I'm like, let him live.
Come as you are. Come as you are.
But that's my thing. Like, he doesn't need to live by
your as you are.
And that, I think, has really, you know, taken.
I'm talking about dad too.
But that has really, I think, hurt us as a community, because we feel like these are the standards. If you don't look this way, you cannot be accepted into what? White society, right? Because that's how we stayed alive.
But do you not
way back when? And it's something that's perpetuated. You have to look a certain, like, we're just now, I think, getting out of that. We're just now starting to feel.
But do you not think that, well, because you're saying like, don't say that. And I'm like, okay, dealing with certain things because I have a dad, he's super G'd up, but I'm a woman. Like he literally told me, Brandy, you are the closest thing I had to a son. It's like, okay, dad. But like, he still shows up, you know what I'm saying? Even though it's like he's showing up like that, it's like, okay, but you're still showing up. So it's like, even though he said what he said, he still gave him the happy birthday. It's like, does he have to show up the way you want him to show up, even though he's showing up? Like, then.
One of the things that helped me with my father and understanding parents, which is going to get into a whole nother book for a whole nother episode of the Kickback Show, thekickbackshow.com, is understanding where they came from and what their program was.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's
why did my dad, and I know that's exactly what Tiana is talking about, right? So long story short, if you put yourself in his shoes, right, and say, okay, what would make him make a statement like that? Well, how did he grow up?
Mm-hmm.
What was he given when he was younger?
Mm-hmm.
Who taught him how to talk to a woman?
Mm-hmm.
Who taught him how to deal with a kid? What was his example of raising a child? How was he raised as a child?
Yeah.
Right? Simple questions that are literally just at the very minimum, at the surface, right? This is not even cutting deep into traumas and all the other conditionings, right?
Yeah.
Of what did he watch and blah, 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 and whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
If we look at it through that lens, it helps us to see things a little bit more clear and not to take it as personal. Speaking for myself.
Yes.
I begin to no longer take things personal once I looked at it at that perspective.
And that goes full circle to my point of, we as a community, our parents were raised in that way where appearances almost above all mattered. The way that you present yourself outside of the house above all mattered. And that's why I'm saying I feel like we're just now starting to be a generation where that is not the thing. I mean, look at how, for instance, MLK had everybody march, put on your Sunday best.
Yeah.
Because how you look outside matters. And it did. It was a survival mechanism, because if you at least looked well-to-do, dealing with those white folks back then, you at least had maybe some kind of an edge up on someone who looked like they were straight off the street, right? It was always, at the very least, the way that you conduct yourself outside the house, the way that you look, what you drive mattered.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm 100%
now.
Sorry. You're exactly right. Like you have to look at how they were raised, and that's how it was. And it's unfortunately was necessary back then. B, what were you gonna say?
Which is crazy because niggas were still getting hung and hosed down in they Sunday best.
In they Sunday best.
I feel like, let's say full disclosure. After my accident, like I had to have my AirPod in because I would still need to hear megahertz, like because I would be like freaked out with people and cars and just a bunch of shit. So I started to really be like, damn, we should really have soundtracks when we walk. Like, depending on your mood.
I agree.
And so I just, leveled up in a couple of ways. And I am just really on this. You got to be young and specific just to notice the difference. Say RIP Nick, but I'm very big on that right now. Like, I just, black with an afro and I smile every day. Okay. Regardless if I want to or not, nigga. I love me.
Yeah. I mean, it's a matter of again, for me, I've learned none of this shit is personal. It's not directed towards me. It shouldn't affect me. You know what I mean? Or I shouldn't allow it to affect me because I'm out of this earth. And that sounds like a very philosophical concept that we're all too familiar with under the form of Christianity. But once we, as Black people, begin to operate as in the mindset of a divine being versus a human being, then there will be much more clarity. We will start to operate at a different frequency. We'll start to absorb things differently. Again, like we mentioned, you wake up, you're not scrolling through Instagram where literally the thing that you're given algorithm-based, right, is what? X, Y, and Z, right? So now that's not the first thing that you're absorbing in the morning. The music that you listen to, what is that doing to your brainwave activity? You know what I'm saying? So the moment that you start to fine tune and tweak those little subtle, what we think are subtle things, but are very dynamic and within our spiritual growth and our physical being here on this planet, you'll start to see how powerful you are as a divine being just operating on this planet. And
I'll take it a step further.
Uh-huh.
And I'll take it a step further and say the sense, you know what I'm saying? The certain sense that you allow around you when depending on your moods, you know, if you need to pick me up and stuff like that. My homegirl today, I tried to show her this car shit and she was like, oh, I don't wear scents anymore. It's messing my hormones. And I was like, okay, girl. So I guess that's some new shit I got to read up on. But, and then also we're multidimensional on top of the divine. You know, so it's like everything that comes in your mind, all of those motherfuckers are real. It just depends on which one you want to pull into the 3D. So, like, really being intentional about that.
The smell is a very big one. I had to break that down to a coworker of mine. Shout out to the homie. I was pointing out essential oils and like the power of smudging, like burning sage and essential oils, right? Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, you know, he was like, you know, I'm involved with somebody that, you know, is trying to tell me, but I just don't get it. So I pointed it out to him like this. I said, you ever walked in the bathroom and somebody just dropped a bomb and it affects you negatively? Like, you're like, what is that? It just ruins your mood, destroys your appetite, right?
This thing said a bomb,
you know what I'm saying? They took the Browns to the
bomb.
Super Bowl. It's the same exact thing with the polar opposite, right? When you burn essential oils that have very specific meanings for uplifting your mood, or you know, helping you to manifest something, or setting your intentions. It's the same exact thing. All that does is it not only clears out things on a spiritual level, but it also affects you on a physical level, because then it helps you in ways that you probably can't even comprehend, that we probably will never be able to comprehend.
Mm-hmm. I get it, but I just bought like 4 new perfumes. Like, damn.
But the thing is here's my question for you on that. Here's my question for you. When you bought the perfumes, did you look to see what the ingredients were? Did you look to see the chemical compound? No, but I was very intentional on the type of scents that it was. Because there's times you go through moods where you're like, I want a fresh, or I want a musky, or I wanted this, you know, whatever. I was very intentional about a certain type of sweet that I've never really worn, but I've just been gravitating towards it. So it is an intentional scent because I'm like, because like I was in the Downy Dumps and I had got some vegan ice cream and I felt better afterwards. So I've been on this little sweet kick type thing. So I still kind of was intentional about it. So my response to that, my rebuttal is
still no, because it's chemicals and shit.
Based on what I've learned, right? Especially when it comes to primarily the food industry, right? It's very easy for them to serve us whatever they want. It could be a ground up boot that was left over at the Goodwill.
Right.
And they can pour a couple little drops. And it's been proven that McDonald's specifically
that shit turned into a steak.
Syrup that takes a couple little drops and it can make your whole entire swimming pool taste like a strawberry banana shake, right? So there's science that exists that will cause things to be completely different or appear to be completely different than what they are. What is bologna? To some, it's a delicacy. It's very delicious. In actuality, it's really just leftover elephant meat after it got killed for its tusk.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's everything that's left over from a cow. It's all the remains from a pig. It's just a bunch of stuff that's ground up. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Same exact concept for what we consume when it comes to our scents. It could be literally anything that is just masked with a couple drops of a concentrate to make us believe, oh, this smells like it's summertime. This smells, but what is it exactly? It could be just rubbing alcohol that somebody put food coloring and other, you know what I'm saying?
The beauty industry is terrible.
Thank you, Foz. Thanks.
Gotcha.
Appreciate
Always.
it. I super needed that tonight.
I got you.
The beauty industry is terrible as far as like just being toxic, and it's bad.
Well, I think like as we get to, or we approach like closing out right now, I think it's only right that, you know, how we're talking about positive energies and you know, and you know, looking within and all that kind of stuff, sharing that energy with each other in person. For us as the Kickback Show, we about to get back to that, because you know, we got the space locked down and set up, good to go. So, you know, we're about to get back to all of this, but shared in the same room at the same time, instead of doing it via Zoom and all that good stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next chapter.
Amen.
Yeah.
And hallelujah. Yeah, it's about time. Also, I know it already happened, but definitely want to shout out that King Jay-Z for being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I believe he was already in the Songwriters Hall of Fame, along with, who was Missy Elliott and I think it was just the two of them.
LL Cool J got added to the Hall of Fame.
LL Cool J in the Songwriters or Rock and Roll?
Rock and Roll.
What do you have to get into being the rock and roll? Like, a lot of people should, like, I feel like I haven't heard of anybody. Like, why is it just them two?
Hey, it's NWA is in there.
Oh,
yeah,
NWA.
they're just the last two.
This is the subject.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is most recent. But this, I mean, I know not Aretha. I'm sorry. What's love got to do with it? Help me. Tina Turner. Tina Turner is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
So many years ago. Like, okay. That's
Prince, I believe, is in the Rock and Roll.
Bro,
Michael
look how
Jackson,
far back you're going. Nigga, it's 2021. 2021.
I mean,
and niggas was killing the game in the 2000s. Like,
but again, this is a subject matter that's going to take us down another rabbit hole.
All right, we out. Let's go.
Because it goes back to the whole trying to feed into their system and their standards of going back to this.
All right, so let's just take a loan out and just start our own thing. You know what I'm saying? And then we can just start our own shit. Eventually, in about 10 years, people will be fucking with it. But we got to know that it's going to be off the strength of just us and our family that's going to come to the events. But we gonna send the invitations out like, yo, you won. You'll say you won at our shit.
I agree
all Black people, we put you in the Hall of Fame. You got one here already.
I agree with you 10,000%. And I hopefully from this episode, the one thing that everybody takes beyond just finding your inner peace is just doing your own thing, not worrying about trying to appease to the masses, but just starting off with yourself and then growing from there. Because Brandy, what you just said is literally it's an eternity before us concept.
Right.
Because, and we've seen it time and time again. Most recently, Jay-Z started Tidal and was like, yo, y'all got all these jokes, but I'm trying to empower us. I'm giving y'all the tools.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's easy to try to deify yourself with the concept and easily get crucified, literally and figuratively speaking, trying to help others out to say, hey, I'm trying to help y'all. This is for everybody else, but ending up becoming a martyr for it. So
I say we do it. I say we just suddenly start sending award certificates to artists everywhere.
I think we should do it. I think we should do, but a Hall of Fame. We starting at the top. Fuck all that.
But have like
you niggas are in the Hall of Fame. They're not
not normal categories. Like you won a Kickback award for, best video I saw while sitting on the
craziest shoelaces.
Like you want to get award for, biggest impact on me after a breakup. Like that, I think that kind of stuff needs to be. We'll just send them.
You won an award because every time I downloaded you on LimeWire, it was always that fucking commercial.
Listen,
and it was never you.
Let's not do this right now because my cup is empty and I'm about to get activated and we're going to be here for a whole nother hour because I'm already handing out awards in my mind. The Snitch Award, the Snitchery with Wahini's award. It's deep. The regular Tuesday award. This is amazing. I think we should. I think we should. We'll just
get the certificates rolling and then just like start sending them out. And then I want to know how many artists put that in their bio. Like awards.
Yeah, like they got the award.
I won the Kickback award recipient, and then it like suddenly becomes a thing.
I mean, hey.
Yeah, no, it's a thing. We said it already.
Hit it, Foz.
The thoughts and the ideas that have been expressed by Tiana Giovanna, Brandy Ann, DJ Swivel, and Foz are sole property of the Kickback Show, its subsidiaries and parent companies. It should not be duplicated, copied, or redistributed without the written or verbal consent of either parties and the subsidiaries and parent companies. Thank you. God bless you, and have a good night. Listen, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Thank y'all for listening. I know that there's a lot of bullshit that we've been experiencing within this last couple of years, let alone our entire lives, to say the least.
Yeah.
But but understand that life is a journey. It's a journey that's definitely well worth taking. My life personally, even with all the trials and tribulations, I will live it in eternity times over, because of the understanding that it's all meant to be a gift for other people. And I hope that everything that we say here, everything that we do here, from the artists that we have on, subject matters that we address, are a gift to you to open up your understanding and your journey in life, to say the least. And with that being said, continue to do your own research, continue to find who you are, get back to that peace, and we'll see you next time. Until then, The Kickback Show, at The Kickback Show on all your social media devices, thekickbackshow.com. You can find me at Wavecap Johnny on everything, and you can find her at
The Kickback Show. You can find her at
Tiana Giovanna on everything across the board. TianaJovana. And that guy?
DJ Swivel on Twitter, Swivel on Instagram, SWIVLL.
There it is. Rest in peace to Young Dolph. Rest in peace to everybody that has lost their life, whether it be due to a pandemic, whether it be due to, unfortunate circumstances. But however, I hope that peace, love, and light find you wherever you are, if you are in a place of grieving. And I hope that it offers an opportunity for you to grow and to help somebody else to grow around you. Till next time, we love y'all. Peace.
Deuces.